Let's shift to another corporate. Mr. Sunil Duggal, the CEO of Dabur, joins us now. Good morning and thanks for joining in. Let me start with the monsoon questions. Given the deficient and erratic monsoon backdrop, how are you gauging demand on the ground, especially in rural areas and also, of course, for the urban landscape?
Well, the demand situation in the early part of the quarter, July and August, was particularly bad. We've seen some recovery since then. September is looking better. Whether this signals the beginning of a longer-term recovery, it's hard to say. But I think the late monsoon, which happened a little bit in September, has helped things along a bit. So that now the overall outlook looks a little bit brighter than, say, in August, when the rainfall shortage was far more than what it is today.
All right, so overall outlook looks a little brighter. So given the current environment, can we still expect volumes to grow at 6 to 10% for Q2 as was guided by you earlier?
I think quarter two is going to be subdued, both from the, particularly from the volume point of view. And there are a couple of things here. I spoke about the lack of demand in July and August, which is going to impact quarter two performance. There's also a bit of a base effect that the shifting of Diwali by around 2 to 3 weeks this year as compared to last year is going to shift the demand forward into Q3 for many of the Diwali-oriented products, particularly in beverages, etc. So I think overall 6 to 10 is going to be a little bit hard, maybe at the lower end of this range or a little bit lower than that. But we do expect the second half of the year to be better than the first. I do see demand reviving a little bit in the third quarter, and especially going by the September indicators, we are reasonably optimistic of that happening.
Okay, so volumes could be at the lower end of the guided range of 6 to 10%. But Mr. Duggal, coming to the margins, the industry has had margin tailwinds through the fall in commodity prices, and Dabur too has gained close to about 300 basis points in gross margins. Do you expect this advantage to play out for the next few quarters as well, or would the pressure in volumes hamper the margins in any way?
Well, the margin expansion is still continuing. It's moderating a little bit on the back of a lower base of last year, but it's still pretty high. So we are expecting margin growth to continue at a pretty rapid pace in the second quarter. It will perhaps start moderating in the third and particularly in the fourth, when we'll be lapping the base of last year. So that is one upside, and I think it enables us to plow back a little bit more into advertising and promotions, etc., to stimulate demand. But I think from the point of view of price increases, the opportunities are comparatively few now, and so therefore the top line will have to be volume driven. Also, I think the rural demand should now, which has been a little subdued in the early parts of this year and the last part of last year, should revive a little bit, again, consequent to a good rainfall in September and other factors, more stimuli happening in the rural areas. So we are reasonably optimistic. I think the second half of this year should be definitely better than the first, both for urban as well as for rural.
All right, we're gauging Dabur's increased focus on urban infrastructure with projects like 50-50 leveraging businesses in the top 130 towns. What are the updates here and where has execution reached so far?
Well, firstly, we are equally focused on rural and urban. There's no particular bias towards urban. But the urban infrastructure build-up is consequent to a little bit of shift in strategy where we'll be investing higher amounts in consumer health. And that will be a very urban-centric initiative to begin with, filtered down to rural over a period of a couple of years. But the infrastructure build-up will begin in urban, and I think most of our expenses on that account are urban-focused on account of the healthcare aspect. Whereas the rural is more of a home and personal care play, and there the infrastructure build-up has already happened over the last few years. Will still continue, but at a slower pace.
All right, one final question then. We believe the company has big plans for the health and wellness segment with Project Core coming to the helm. Can you tell us a little bit more about the potential in the health and wellness segment and what it offers to Dabur?
Well, I think the most important aspect of our urban healthcare initiative is to play the advocacy card in a way which we have never done before, no company has done before, is to build a very strong connect with doctors who will then promote our products, which will be, of course, OTC. They won't be prescriptive, but it will depend a lot upon the doctor endorsement. And we are very hopeful that this initiative will enable us to cut short the very time-consuming process of building consumer healthcare brands and enable us to launch also products with far greater rate of success.
Okay, well, just keep an eye out on the market. It is still down almost about 1%, but now there are some fresh additions to, you know, the big losers. So Axis Bank has suddenly taken a knock for the worse. It's down to the lowest point of trade, down almost about 3% Yes Bank is following suit. So all the private sector banks are now getting hit quite hard. And ICICI Bank, as we were telling you earlier, continues to be the big loser today, down almost about 3% So just keep your eye out on the market, not looking good ahead of the big policy event. But Mr. Duggal, you've launched your latest project, Project Lead. Before we wrap up, can you tell us a little more about this?
Well, again, it connects with the doctors. It is advocacy build-up. We have a lot of people on the ground, around 500 to begin with, going up to 1,000, who will contact something like 25 to 50,000 doctors. And the build-up will continue over a period of time. At the moment, it's being templated in a couple of parts of the country, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. But the national rollout will happen very soon. And then you will see a lot of new products going into that funnel. May not be very visible because they won't be done through media. It will be through advocacy platforms. But over a period of 1, 2, 3 years, many of these products would emerge over the counter through advertising. So that's really the crux of this initiative, and we are very hopeful about the outcome. It's a slow burn, so you won't find huge impact in the near term, but I think it's essential to our long-term goals.
All right, Mr. Duggal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining us. That's the word coming in from Dabur.